Hey there, for my second lesson on strumming, I'm going to talk about simple and syncopated grooves. We're going to take a simple groove and we're going to turn it into a syncopated one. And so basically the definition, my definition of a simple groove is one that has no stranded upstrokes. And what I mean by that is every upstroke that you play in a simple groove has a downstroke right before it. So for example, if we're talking about an eighth note groove, like the one I was basically playing, we're going to do the simple version of that, would be down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, that's 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So every time we had an and or an upbeat, we had a downbeat before it, or a downstrum. Every time we had an upstrum, we had a downstrum right before it, okay? A syncopated groove would have what I would call a stranded upstroke. So there would be an upstroke without a downstroke before it. So that means you're going to have to skip the strings when you strum down. It's not too hard to skip strings when you're strumming up. You're used to doing that. If I'm just doing quarter notes here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see that I'm just missing the strings when I'm coming up. If I didn't, it would sound like this. So what we're going to have to do though is we're going to have to miss the strings going down, and that is difficult. Okay, so the simple groove we're gonna modify is this one: 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to put what's called a tie between the and of 2, or connecting the and of 2 to 3, which basically means when you see a tie, you're adding the values of those 2 notes together. So in this case, it's 2 eighth notes. And so 2 eighth notes added together equals 1 quarter note. So it's a way of playing a quarter note within a strumming groove, starting on an and of the beat, and of a downbeat. So it's the upbeat. So this is what that sounds like. It'd be down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. So it'd be 1, 2, and skip 3, and 4, and. See that? So I'm going 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So it's difficult because you got to kind of miss the strings. And the real temptation there is to stop strumming, and then you turn the pattern around, and that would be like. And that wouldn't work because it's not going to feel right. It's not going to keep you on the beat. You'll look like Elvis in a 50s movie or something like that, but basically that's not. Okay, so some very important things you need to think about, and I mentioned them before, but basically you keep your arm moving like a metronome. Okay, you think of your arm as one of those tick-tock metronomes. The other thing you want to do is probably pick up a metronome. So when you're practicing, you can practice along with a metronome. And the great thing about using a metronome is you can chart your progress. So if you start out at 80 beats per minute, then you're at 85, 90, 95, etc. You can go, oh look, I'm getting better. It's kind of an encouraging tool to have. And then I would suggest using thinner picks for strumming if you're just beginning. Mainly because if you use too thick of a pick, you're going to snag the strings, and it's gonna slow you down. I like to use all different kinds of picks. This is a Dunlop 0.60 millimeter, and it has a playing card kind of sound to it. The 0.88 millimeter Dunlop, which is a little darker gray, is a little bit more solid sounding. And then like if I might use my Wiegand, which is very thick. I think it's 3 millimeters. It also has a different sound. So that's one of the things you can get into collecting picks and getting different sounds from different picks. I really like doing that. Okay, so let's work on this groove a little bit more. And then at the end of the video, I will do some strum along with Tom stuff that you can just practice with, okay? All right, so here's the groove again. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and. Let me put it at 100. call this the standard folk groove because it's so common. And you can play it a lot of different ways. If you play it really fast, it kind of sounds like a bluegrass thing. Right? If you hit the bass note, kind of sounds like a 50s strumming groove. In fact, if you roll the second chord, if you want to take it a little further, you could also do, like a snare hit on 2 and 4. And I do that by basically just kind of putting the side of my hand on the strings just before I hit it. You might have to practice that. If you miss it, it'll be like a lot of noise. But that's how I do a snare hit. And so typically when you listen to a drum groove, oftentimes the snare is on 2 and 4. So if I do a snare hit on 2 and 4, it would sound like this. It's all basically the same standard folk groove that I'm doing. All of those different variations are the same groove, just done different ways. Okay? So I'm going to finish here and then stick around. If you want to practice strumming, I'm just going to use basically G and E minor. So it's going to be very, very simple. Okay? Thanks for watching. God bless you guys. Okay, we're just going to strum a basic G to an E minor. And we're going to start it with 2 bars of the standard folk groove, each before changing chords. Okay? And then we'll speed that up a little bit. Tempo is 100. 2, 3, 4. Now let's change every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's 120, changing every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4.